Welcome to the Fast Mode podcast series. I'm Tara Neil, and with me today is Brian Cappellani, Chief Technology Officer, Communications and Media at Hansen Technologies. Hansen Technologies is a global software and services provider to the energy, water, and utilities and telecommunications industries. The company currently serves customers in over 80 countries. A 30-year telecommunications industry veteran, Brian has extensive experience designing and building large-scale operations and business support systems. In his role at Hansen, Brian is currently responsible for the strategic evolution of Hansen's suite of communications, technology, and media. Brian joins us as part of our exclusive editorial segment on generative AI for network management. Welcome, Brian. Great to have you on today's episode.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's dive right in. There's no denying that Gen AI can really impact network optimization. We often hear people talk of its impact on network latency, speed, and the like. But I'd love to hear your take on this. Can you share that with our listeners today?
Sure, thank you. I think it is clear that AI and Gen AI can play a key role in autonomous networks and truly minimize sort of the human involvement in this area. And I think human involvement is currently required because intelligent decision making about the network can actually require a lot of thought processing. Technicians typically have a broad range of knowledge and information available to make these decisions. They've got experience with the state of the networks they operate, knowledge what the customer has ordered and what level of service needs to be delivered, along with other contextual information like the strategies and goals of the company and related business processes, including answers to questions like how valuable is this customer and how much resourcing is available to deal with the problem. So while it's not really explicitly defined, this knowledge base actually spans many domains across the organization. It's not always just network information. But if autonomous Gen AI is going to take over all these responsibilities, if it needs to be able to make the same decisions across these many domains, then we need to be able to express all of these requirements, the goals and constraints to it across all of the domains. Because if we aren't able to describe these to the AI systems that are going to be running our networks, they're not going to be able to learn, apply, or deliver the full potential of autonomous operation. So to help speed up this adoption of AI, the Telemanagement Forum, or the TM Forum, as most of us call them, and a number of industry players have been working together to try to agree on a common language that we call intent to specify these requirements and constraints. And this has resulted in the 921 API, which enables organizations to feed in intents using this API. Then the AI system can sort of stack up and look across all of these constraints and then optimize them into various configurations, sometimes focused on the network layer. We call those network intent, but also sometimes focused on products and services that we call commercial or business intents of the CSP. But ultimately, all these intents are important and they're all interconnected. I mean, they all feed into the AI ecosystem.
Absolutely, Brian. That perspective is crucial as the industry increasingly adopts Gen AI. But how easy will it be to get the industry to align on this?
Well, I think in any technology revolution, we go through phases. We're first experimenting and understanding the technology, then we're looking to operationalize it, and finally to optimize it. And I think for those second two steps, industry standards and architectures have always been critical. And organizations like the TM Forum have been key in developing and promoting those standards. Standardized interfaces and concepts have been proven to minimize integration costs for CSPs and also allow vendors to align their offerings to this industry evolution. And I think that should be the model here as well. With the TM Forum and key large CSPs behind these standards, I think we're going to get there because the benefits of embracing these standards around intent and its APIs are not just going to be the reduction of integration costs, but I also think it's going to drive the acceleration and the development of optimized industry-specific algorithms for autonomous networks.
So going back to the intent part that you described just now, you basically talked about network intent as well as the business, the commercial intent. So what you are suggesting is that while network telemetry and Gen AI for network management are important, they are just parts of the puzzle to optimize commerciality.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Now there is a connection between telemetry and intent, because if you can't measure something, you can't really use it as a requirement in an intent statement. But AI needs the rules and the goals to frame it and allow it to learn and evolve to balance all of these required intents when managing a customer service. And sort of like I said, the intents may come directly from the network, but you can also be optimizing over both commercial and network requirements. But if we want to just look at the network level, maybe I can talk about an example we worked on a couple of years back on a TM Forum Catalyst project with Cognizant, Verizon, and Colt. And here we focused just on the network level. We're able to model the services along with their network intent. Now, these are things like data rates, latency, etc. And then we were able to feed that into Cognizant's Neuro AI-driven autonomous network management system. So now it could relate a service to all of these network intents. And when a customer ordered a service, Neuro could now automatically understand all the network constraints for that service and then start to take in the appropriate network telemetry to monitor them. And if those network conditions changed, it could automatically now make changes to the network to ensure the intents were still valid. So in a situation like if a slice got congested and performance was impacted, it could move the service automatically to another slice, for example.
So now let's say we add the commercial intent to this. Do you have an example of how you have applied intent and modeling to the commercial part rather than the network side of the CSP business?
Yes, yeah, we have. And I think it really showcased how you don't need to sort of upend all of your systems to leverage Gen AI. Kind of, if you choose the right core systems and standard-based interfaces, that integration is simplified. Here we worked with AWS, Telefonica, Verizon, and Viasat to focus on sort of modeling products and offers from a commercial intent basis. And here we were trying to drive individual personalized offers for each customer. Now, we weren't just choosing the best offer from a bunch, but we actually dynamically created the offer based on what the customer asked for, which was the customer's intent. And then we dynamically priced that bundle based on the CSP commercial intent rules in our catalog. We were able to model the commercial intent for each individual product in our catalog and then express those rules around how they could be composed around things like availability, margin, and pricing information. So all this commercial intent was then used by the AWS Bedrock-based GenAI system to dynamically build and price the unique bundle based on the customer's preferences. And all of this actually integrated seamlessly into our CPQ product for customer ordering through TMF interfaces.
Okay. Amazing. So I was just thinking, sidetracking a little. If there are conflicts in the intent, right? For example, you have sustainability goals versus profit goals and QoS. Have you seen this sort of scenarios, or what do we do when we have scenarios as such?
Yes, and that is in many cases an expected scenario. You may have conflicting intents, and that's where the importance of oversight and training of these algorithms are needed, because you will prioritize some intents over others, right? That there's always a profit motive, but there's also a service level availability scenario. So that's one of the key things around training these AI algorithms, is to make sure that you're able to prioritize or understand the relationship between these intents.
Okay, so expanding on that, is it possible to model this notion of intent while modeling services?
Yes. So, for example, in our service catalog, when we create services, we're able to express these services in terms of their network intent. As we said, key requirements such as latency, frame loss, etc. And these are sort of the building blocks that are used to ensure that an autonomous network management AI can operate the service efficiently. So these services or building blocks can then be used in a commercial catalog to create products and offers. And now these offers can have additional commercial intents added to them around things like availability, minimum pricing, affinity, etc. And so now these offers have a common, consistent model of all the CSP's intents and requirements. And feeding this into one or multiple AI decision systems allows them to take this customer intent and not only choose the best offer for the customer, but now also ensure that the key services in that offer are always operated on the network to maintain those network intents. So you can kind of see how this intent modeling can build on itself for greater granularity and utility throughout the whole ecosystem.
Well, this sounds really interesting. So I was just wondering, do you have the concept of maybe templates where you have these intents already built in, so operators can just go and select the intents they want? Because honestly speaking, across operators, the intents will more or less be the same, and of course there will be areas where when you're addressing different customer types or categories, you might need something a little bit more customized. But do you have such templates that operators can just plug and play?
Yeah, I think this is where we start to talk about the value of standards and standardization. Because as you mentioned, there are common intents that you're going to see across many operators. And when I mentioned that, one of the goals out of this is could drive sort of very industry specific algorithms that exist, having these common templates and agreed upon kind of standard rules will allow the developers of these algorithms to have the common base to work from. So I think ultimately that is what's going to help derive these better industry specific solutions.
Okay, so that's a possibility there that you will have standard templates and also customized templates that CSPs can benefit from or can even share with each other. I mean, I don't know if that's the scenario, but I guess that's going to be a lot of refined configurations. And when you have achieved a certain level of like a very refined template, then you can basically share it, right?
Indeed, yeah, and that goal of cooperation would be great. We'll see how the industry evolves with it, but now we've got the sort of the building blocks to be able to envision that future.
Yes, I think we've talked quite a bit on the technology part of it, but I see that we would probably our listeners would like to know a little bit more on Hansen, the initiatives that you guys have in place, or maybe the solutions and products that you plan to bring to the market in this aspect.
Yeah, so we're OSS and BSS vendor. While we do serve the telecom industry, we also serve energy and utilities. But in the focus on just the sort of the telecom and media side of the house, I've sort of mentioned quite a bit about our catalog products as part of our suite for communications and media providers. So we're able to, one of our strengths is we have the ability within our product and service catalogs to model sort of any type of product or service and any type of rules associated with it. That's why it was very easy for us to start adopting this notion of intent. But we're able to support, as we've kind of mentioned, the entire sort of order to cash processes all the way from, as I mentioned, our sort of CPQ order capture, all the way through order management, all the way down to sort of billing and settlements, and providing the data plane of a lot of that information to help drive some of these AI algorithms.
And do you think CSPs are ready to get started on this?
100%. I think CSPs are facing obviously a lot of cost pressures in the marketplace, and this idea of autonomous operations certainly does help address that. But I think there's also a lot of kind of new opportunities out there, whether that is now trying to get into the business of private networks and having sort of a much larger span of networks to look at. This automation, I think, is going to be key for entering into that business and that marketplace. And I think having this type of infrastructure available is actually going to be key to exploring some of those opportunities.
Great. Thank you, Brian, for joining us and for sharing your valuable insights and for broadening our thinking on Gen AI beyond the realms of just network management. Well, if I could sum up for our listeners, I would say your main takeaway is don't just focus on network or commercial. Consider your entire ecosystem and how AI can impact and optimize this by starting with intent. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. I think using this generic concept of intent and ensuring that both your OSS and BSS systems can express this intent over kind of standard interfaces like the TM Forum 921 means you can more easily integrate with AI-driven autonomous network management systems. But I think it also means you can now extend the range of that autonomous optimization to consider, not only your network, but actually all aspects of your business.
Brilliant. Well, that brings us to the end of our session. Once again, thank you for joining us, Brian.
Thank you for having me.
And to everyone tuning in, thank you for listening. If you want to learn more, visit www.hansencx.com and follow us for more updates and insights as we continue to uncover the latest in technology and telecommunications. See you in our next session.